On my birthday, I discovered my boyfriend was faking being poor. His rich friends were treating my life like a bet, and their group chat was lighting up. Cameron, man, when are you gonna dump that guy? How long are you gonna make Daisy wait? Not tired of him yet. Right, what was I thinking? You gotta bleed him dry first, then drop the bomb. The look on that poor bastard's face will be priceless. All the money he's made in his entire life isn't worth as much as one of your watches. When this whole bet is over, we gotta chip in and get you another sports car for your trouble. A wave of laughter. Then, a cold woman's voice cut through on the other end of the line. Don't you feel disgusting, letting another man top you? Cameron is engaged. If you have any self-respect, get lost. The call ended, but her harsh words echoed in my mind. You'd think, for a guy who's about to die, why is so much happening all at once? I looked down at the doctor's report on the table. Terminal, late stage. The doctor had asked me, do you have any siblings? Is there anything you've always wanted to do but haven't gotten around to? I knew what he was gently trying to tell me. There's no hope. Get ready to die. Even with aggressive treatment, I'd have a year or two at most, and it would cost a fortune. For someone without money, a major illness is a death sentence. I sat on a metal bench in the waiting room for a long time, poring over the medical jargon on the report, then started Googling my symptoms, my own digital fortune-telling session, praying for any sliver of a chance. After all, I'd been so tough for so long, had finally clawed my way out of the mud, and was just starting to live a happy life. Every day felt like a dizzying dream. I couldn't bear to imagine how heartbroken Cameron would be when he found out. Just thinking about it made my own heart ache. When you love someone, they become your weakness. I was starting to be afraid of death. But now it seemed I didn't have to be. A moment later, I stood up, my face expressionless, and turned on every light in the apartment. The glare was blinding. Once my eyes adjusted, I looked around. Everything that had once seemed so sweet and tender now looked garish, mocking my stupidity in the harsh light. I lowered my eyes and used the small lighter that came with my birthday cake to light a candle. Happy 29th birthday to me. I held the medical report over the flame, slowly humming the happy birthday song to myself. The scorching tongue of the flame licked the stubborn illness clean. They say you can see the world change in a fire. I saw all my past moments with Cameron, one by one, until they turned into ash and floated away. So it turned out I wasn't the reason he was in so much debt, and he didn't discover his sexuality because of me. And just like that, a huge weight was lifted off my shoulders. What a relief. Well, happy birthday to me, I whispered. Nothing left to worry about. God help me. I didn't expect him to come home that night. It was around 3 in the morning when I heard the key in the lock. Then came the familiar, slightly unsteady footsteps. Cameron was back. I hadn't been able to sleep anyway. Hearing his steps, I sat up instinctively and pushed open my bedroom door. Moonlight pooled like water on the floor, and our eyes met. The dark-haired young man was tall, his deep eyes glistening. He was clearly drunk. The alcohol had painted a seductive flush at the corners of his eyes, but when he wasn't smiling, he looked cold, unapproachable. He was tall, almost 6'3", and even in a simple hoodie he managed to make it look like designer couture. Alex. Cameron saw me and called my name softly, then wrapped his arm around my neck and leaned in to kiss me. It was a kiss that tasted of hard liquor, arrogant, fiery, and desperate, just like him. I turned my head, and his lips brushed against my cheek. What's wrong, babe? Pouting? Sensing something was off, Cameron's voice dropped to a husky rasp. I had a work dinner yesterday. By the time I saw your messages, it was already late. I didn't want to wake you, so I didn't reply. Were you waiting up for me? Let me make it up to you now, okay? Hearing his words, I felt a wave of confusion. How could he split his heart in two, faking such deep affection for someone he didn't even love? Was toying with people that interesting? Was tricking someone's genuine feelings that fun? I asked him softly, Cameron, do you love me? He froze for only a second before answering immediately, of course. I love you more than anyone, Alex. As he said it, he glanced around the room and chuckled knowingly. Are you mad I wasn't here for your birthday yesterday? I promise I'll be here for the next one. I'm working hard for our future, you know? He paused, his nose twitching. What's that smell in here? Figuratively speaking, my ashes. I raised an eyebrow, a mocking smile playing on my lips. It had been a long time since I'd worn an expression like this. The young man stared at my face without blinking, swallowed hard, and reached out to pull me in by the waist again. Couldn't hold back. I decked him. He's got a glass jaw. I scoffed, glancing at the man who had passed out on the floor. A moment later, with a cigarette between my lips, I casually packed a few sets of clothes, ready to close the door and leave for good. But just as I was about to step out, I changed my mind. I stepped back inside and turned on the TV. What a coincidence. The news was all about Cameron. The anchor's voice was bright and clear, enunciating every word so perfectly that I heard it all. Sources confirm the Shang family will host a magnificent engagement party tomorrow at the Astoria Grand. We congratulate the happy couple on overcoming many trials to be together. It's a perfect match between two prominent families. I let the news play in the background as I tilted my head, took down the ceramic sculpture we had made together, and smashed it against the wall. The head of the Shang family, his father, Mr. Shang, will take the stage to offer his blessings to the couple. Next went the matching pair of glass tumblers. We've learned that 3 years ago, on May 7th, Cameron Shang spent a fortune for his beloved at the Cloud9 Lounge. The plaster dolls we had painted together. It is truly a joyous occasion to see the two finally united. Truly a joyous occasion. With every object I destroyed, another thread connecting me to him was severed. The crisp snaps and dull thuds were incredibly satisfying. I'd noticed his work dinners becoming more and more frequent, but I thought if we just worked together, we could overcome any hardship and build a happy life. After all, he was supposedly drowning in debt. If he hadn't stood up for me, he wouldn't owe so much money, and he wouldn't have missed his father's last moments. I had even emptied my entire savings, which only amounted to paying off $15,000 of it. It was all a lie, just another tool he used to torture me. How disgusting. Using the still burning birthday candle, I set fire to all the photos of us I had collected. Of course, to prevent an actual fire, I waited until they were mostly burned before dousing the embers with water. I lit another cigarette and, with one hand, spray painted a few large words on the pristine white wall. Fuck you, Cameron. We're done. Now I felt better. I admired my masterpiece for a moment, expressionless. Then I smashed his phone, tied him up securely, and walked out the door. For in the morning, I found a 24-hour diner and sat down. The owner looked surprised. You're up early for a meal, kid? Yeah, boss. What's ready? Got some spicy soup and fried dough sticks. They're fresh. I smiled, deciding to splurge a little today. I'll take $10 worth of the spicy soup and 5 fried dough sticks. Each stick was made of 2 smaller pieces twisted together. My plan was to eat one half and throw the other away. A guy who just got his heart broken deserves to treat himself a little. Excuse me, are you still serving breakfast? A clear, crisp voice cut through my haze and jolted me awake. I narrowed my eyes and looked at the person standing before me. He must have just finished a morning run. He was only wearing a tank top, and his fair skin seemed to glow. The muscles of his chest rose and fell with his breathing. They were beautiful. How on earth do you get a body like that? He seemed to feel my intense gaze and turned to look at me. His expression was a little cold and impatient. He had sharp brows and bright eyes, radiating a youthful energy. Alex? The guy's eyes widened as he recognized me, and he quickly slid into the seat across from me. Then, as if realizing something, he glanced around nervously. Oh, am I taking your friend's seat? Huh? No, I'm alone.
Si tu es rêveur.
I was surprised he knew me and seemed to know my situation so well. You are? I'm a student from your university, a junior at Northwood. It's normal you don't recognize me. My name is Flynn. The name sounded vaguely familiar, but I graduated 3 years ago. The young man looked at me with eyes that seemed to sparkle, and I swallowed all my questions. I had to maintain some semblance of a cool older guy in front of an underclassman. I finished all the fried dough sticks. I was a little stuffed. Wow, Alex, that's amazing. You finished everything. He watched me eat with rapt attention, and now he was even praising me for finishing my meal. Why did that sound so weird? Do you live around here? I asked, feeling a little awkward. No, I'm just renting a place nearby. I nodded. My phone buzzed with a message from a friend. Well, I'm done.
I gotta go.
We can chat again sometime. I stood up and paid for my meal and the underclassmen's, offering a polite, reflexive gesture. Alex, just as I was about to leave, Flynn called out to me. Yeah, can I get your number? I really look up to you. The young man rushed over, took my hand, and placed it on his chest. His gaze was fiery and sincere. His chest was hot beneath my hand, and I could even feel his racing heartbeat. This kid has no boundaries. But I couldn't just tell him I was gay. I might freak the handsome kid out, especially since he gave off such a strong straight guy vibe. Sure, I said. The young man watched me leave, and the moment I was out of sight, his expression turned cold. He looked down at his hand, which was trembling with excitement. His face flushed a pale pink, and he gasped for breath, his eyes filled with obsession. When the owner came to clear the table, he stopped him. Sir, I'll buy these chopsticks and that bowl. Don't wash them. What happened? Leo welcomed me into his apartment, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. I dropped my bag on the sofa, handed him the breakfast I'd brought, and shrugged. We broke up. I didn't have to say who. My best friend knew. What? His shriek nearly blew the roof off. He had witnessed how close we were and couldn't understand how we could break up without any warning. But Leo knew me. If I said it was over for good. There was no turning back. That's why he was so shocked. I quickly clapped a hand over his mouth to prevent a noise complaint. Just then, my phone buzzed again. Tonight at 7. You're invited to attend our normal people's engagement party, you gay freak. Don't be late. Normal people, huh? I frowned for a moment, then let out a resigned laugh. I remembered the looks my classmates gave me in high school, the subtle exclusion, the open mockery. Fine. But I was a dead man walking. I wasn't afraid of anything now. I texted back. Okay. Please send me the invitation. I was a little curious to see the look on Cameron's face when I showed up at his engagement party. Oh right. Finding Cameron before the party might be a problem. After replying, I looked up to see Leo staring at me. Dude, what are you gonna do now?
I'm sick.
The kind you don't get better from, I said, handing him my phone so he could see the name of the disease. I'm gonna take a trip in a couple of days. Alex, you're lying. Leo's voice was raspy. I never lie. I shattered his hope. Leo's eyes welled up, and he threw his arms around my waist, sobbing loudly. He got snot and tears all over my shirt. He was crying as if I were already dead. And I, the sick one, had to be the one to comfort him. I'm not sad. So why are you? Think of it this way. I get to skip all those years of suffering. I can enjoy the beautiful world while I'm still young and can walk. Isn't that great? I finally managed to calm Leo down. He wiped his tears and asked, Dude, are you going on this trip alone? I glanced down at my phone again, answering distractedly. Yeah, once I get my affairs in order, I'll head out. I don't plan on coming back this time. Alex, that's like dying without a proper burial. Why does that sound so weird? Wait, why did I think again? Leo suddenly slapped his thigh. Wait here, man. You just relax for the next few days. I'll find you someone to collect your body. A travel buddy. Seeing the tear tracks still fresh on Leo's face, I swallowed the words of protest. I said, you know I'm gay, right? Don't make things weird for the other person. Don't worry, man. I'll give them a heads up. Leo promised, patting his chest. Fine. I didn't sleep at all last night. I'm gonna go catch up on some sleep. Leo had always kept a spare room for me when I used to stay over. I started walking toward it. Wait, Alex. Leo stopped me. What's up? I asked. So, my cousin's younger brother is on summer break, right? He didn't want to go home, so he's crashing here. He insisted on using that room, so I packed your stuff up and put it in the other one. Leo said sheepishly. I nodded, not really caring. I hadn't stayed at Leo's since I started dating Cameron anyway. By the way, are you free this afternoon? I'm free for whatever. At your service, man. I tossed him my credit card. You know my sizes, right? Help me pick out a suit. And find a makeup artist with good taste. Dude, what are you planning now? I waved a dismissive hand. Just a small thing. I'm crashing a party tonight. I didn't sleep well. Though I put on a calm and carefree act, my dreams were filled with Cameron's face. I met him at the little snack shop I ran near the campus gate. He went to the university next door, and I'd noticed him around because he was strikingly handsome. When I saw him also working part-time as a server, I struck up a conversation. Cameron had scratched his head and smiled. My family's not doing so well, and my dad's sick. I have to work hard to earn money. Hearing that, I felt a sense of kinship, of shared struggle. And those very words were what dragged me into the abyss. We got to know each other after that. It started with a few occasional words and grew into talking about everything. Every day. He would always come find me during his free time. I've always been direct, so I told him my sexual orientation. I don't hide things from my friends, I said. If you have a problem with it, we should stop talking. Cameron stared, then shook his head frantically. And no, I don't mind, Alex. Sometime after that, he disappeared for 3 days. I only found out later that he'd gotten into a fight with some people who were spreading rumors about me. He couldn't afford to pay the damages, so he was held for 3 days. On a rainy night, the young man cried and said, "My dad, he passed away. Alex, it's not your fault. I like you. This is what I should do for you. I love you, but we should break up. I'm in debt for $500,000. I don't want to drag you down." I was silent for a long time, then I pulled him into my arms. And that's how we got together. After graduation, we both started working. He would transfer every last cent he earned to me, his eyes shining. "Alex, I can make money now, too. My job provides meals, so I don't need to spend anything. You can have it all. Alex, I love you." The scene shifted. I saw his more mature face, now twisted with a faint sneer. Not tired of him yet. Cameron casually toyed with some luxury item. In the eyes of those rich kids, we were just a form of entertainment. His features warped and twisted, finally settling into a look of contempt. He and another blurry figure pushed me into an endless abyss. I never even had the chance to ask, "Why would you do this to me?" I never knew a person could fake such a burning, passionate love. I've asked why a lot in my life. When my parents were lost in one gambling binge after another. When bullies found my diary, learned my sexual orientation, and used it to turn the whole class against me. I asked why then, too. But without exception, I never got an answer. I just learned that most of life's questions don't have clear answers. If you can't find an answer, you move on. Life doesn't stop just because you can't figure something out. I adjusted my suit and looked at myself in the mirror. Not to brag, but I was in pretty good shape. I had the height and the muscle. Even with a busy life, I always made time to work out. A beast in a suit, a wolf in sheep's clothing, a sophisticated scoundrel, man. Leo gave me a thumbs up. His voice was a little hoarse. It looked like he'd been crying again behind my back. I sighed. Do any of those sound like compliments? Leo just scratched his head and grinned, saying nothing more. Just then, the door opened. A familiar face appeared in my line of sight. He was carrying a backpack, wearing a white hoodie and jeans. His head was down and he seemed to be in a low mood. "Hey Flynn, you're back early today." "Yeah." "Not really in the mood for anything," Flynn mumbled, closing the door behind him. "We have a guest today. This is Alex." "Alex." Flynn seemed not to hear Leo, but his head snapped up to look at me, his eyes wide with shock as he whispered my name. I was a little surprised, too. I hadn't expected Flynn to be Leo's cousin's brother. Wait a minute. Didn't he say he was renting a place in my neighborhood? You two know each other? Leo asked. It's a coincidence. We met this morning at a diner near my place. He's an underclassman from my school, I explained. The young man pressed his lips together, a shy smile appearing on his face as he subconsciously tried to hide his backpack behind him. By the way, Flynn, have you been thinking about taking a trip recently? Leo asked. Not really interested. I don't have the time. The young man replied slowly, shaking his head. His voice was sluggish, as if his brain hadn't rebooted yet. Oh well, I was thinking you and Alex could team up for a trip, to look after him. Look after Alex. Flynn repeated the words blankly, his eyes glazed over. I had been adjusting my suit, but hearing the two of them talk, I couldn't help but chuckle. He had seemed like such a sharp kid this morning, but right now he looked like a deer in headlights. I turned my head to look at him and smiled. Yeah, I might need someone to take care of me. Boom! I wasn't sure if I was hearing things, but at the sound of that huge noise, the young man's face instantly turned beet red. Forget it, he can't even boil wa, Leo started to say, but Flynn cut him off. Flynn said loudly, I'll go. Alex, I'm interested and I have time. I'm really strong, I have great stamina, and I'm the best at taking care of people, I said Leo. Leo said, seriously? You don't even see your actual brother standing here? All right, we can talk about this later. I glanced at the time. I have to get going. The engagement party was a grand affair. I was seated in a spot near the front, quietly waiting for the show to begin. When the happy couple walked onto the stage, I watched them with a smirk. Cameron's jaw was still a little swollen and red. He looked somber and completely distracted. Beside him was his fiancée. She was beautiful, but her expression was just as foul. Both of them had long faces. They weren't even married yet and already looked like they couldn't stand each other. After a long, tedious opening speech, the lights came up. When their eyes landed on me, I gave them a cheerful little wave and mouthed, Hi. I hadn't come bearing good news. Alex. The young man's eyes widened in shock, as if he suddenly understood why I'd done what I did last night. He instinctively took a step toward me. The next second, his fiancée grabbed his arm. Only then did Cameron seem to remember that this wasn't our home, but his engagement party. His face went pale, his lips trembled, but no words came out. After 3 seconds of silence, he saw me stand up to leave, and he couldn't hold back any longer. Alex! He shook off the woman's grip, shouting my name as he stumbled toward me. Alex! Let me explain. It's just a family arrangement. A family arrangement? I sidestepped his hand and let out a sharp whistle. The massive screen behind the stage instantly went black. Then, a slideshow of photos and videos of me and Cameron began to play. Him swearing he would love me forever. The spectacle made both sets of parents' faces change dramatically. In their high society world, being gay was not something you put on display. Furthermore, public acceptance was still low. No matter how wild they were in private, a scandal like this could have a serious impact on their stock prices. Swallowing my pride and seeking a peaceful resolution was never my style. And as for them getting revenge on me, they wouldn't have the chance. Men and women, huh? Getting engaged behind my back while we were dating and scamming me for money, I said. Cameron, I never knew you were such a player. He looked at my cold expression, a flash of pain in his eyes. He stubbornly tried to grab my hand again, his voice hoarse. Alex, let me explain. There are reasons for all of this. How could you do this to me? It's me, Cameron. What do you think you're doing? Who let this person in? Security. Where's security? Well-trained bodyguards rushed over, but I held up my phone. Besides this, I have some other audio and video files that might be damaging to your precious son. If you don't let me walk out of here today, and I don't get back in 3 hours, more explicit videos will pop up on every screen in the city. I don't have a reputation to protect, but I wonder if your precious son still does. I looked at the bodyguards blocking my way and clicked my tongue. Are you going to move or not? All of you, get out. Cameron snarled at the guards blocking the path. In the chaos, the guests had already been ushered out. I watched the whole farce with a cold indifference. I started to walk out. You think you can just ruin our engagement party and walk away scot-free? It was Daisy. You invited me. It would have been rude not to come. I scoffed, slowly lighting a cigarette and glancing around. The room had gone quiet. Only the key members of the Shang and Zhao families remained, slowly surrounding me amidst the wreckage. Mr. Shang heard my comment and shot a cool glance at Daisy before turning to me. What do you want? Money. Forget the apology. I shrugged, the smoke I exhaled obscuring their faces. Steam rose from the hot tea. Cameron's father was a middle-aged man who looked rather respectable. Cameron was kneeling in the distance, 2 bodyguards standing behind him. Alex, you're a reasonable person. The Shung family will take responsibility for our son's mistakes. In addition to the $500,000 he scammed from you, we will offer you another $500,000 in compensation. He glanced at the silent, head-bowed Cameron and continued, this is also to make up for our failure to discipline him properly. However, you must promise to never appear in front of Cameron again. The heir to the Shung family needs to be set back on the right path. I raised an eyebrow, looking at the credit card pushed in front of me. All that talk of love and affection, it's nothing in the face of money. Cameron's head snapped up, his reddened eyes fixed on me, unblinking. Deal. I chuckled and picked up the card. Alex. The young man kneeling there had fire in his eyes. He tried to stand, but the bodyguards behind him forced him back down. Don't take it. I'll have money. A lot more than $1 million. Just don't leave me. It sounded like they used a lot of force. He let out a muffled grunt. Shut up. Mr. Shung frowned, glaring at Cameron again. Are you trying to curse me to death? I wish I never had a degenerate son like you. The golden boy's suit was now wrinkled, but his handsome face still had a powerful impact. He ignored his father and stared at me. Alex, don't take it. If you do, I'll never forgive you for the rest of my life. His tone was urgent, a low growl laced with a desperate threat. I turned my head to look at him. Why did you choose me to be the target of your little game? He froze. He had clearly thought I only knew about his engagement. My phone was set to auto-record calls. I looked down and played the recording. The young man's face went deathly pale. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Well, I won't disturb you any longer. I stood up and deleted the videos in front of his father. I'm leaving. As long as you guarantee he won't harass me, I will never show my face to him again. Mr. Shung nodded. As I walked past the kneeling Cameron, I felt a tug on my pant leg. He had grabbed my cuff. Don't go. You degenerate. Mr. Shung was so angry he swung his cane down on Cameron's back. It was a hard blow. Don't go. Cameron's face was white with pain, but he stubbornly held onto my pants, gritting his teeth. I'm begging you. I crouched down and looked him in the eyes. They were red-rimmed and incredibly vulnerable. It reminded me of that rainy night years ago when he cried in my arms. Back then, I had felt so much love and sorrow for him, wanting to give him everything good in the world. Now all I felt was disgust. You should be grateful I'm a poor man. This money is pretty important to me. I pulled a small razor blade from my collar and, under Cameron's agonized gaze, sliced through the fabric of my pants he was holding. Otherwise, you'd die a very ugly death. I keep my promises. I stood up and walked away without a single look back. I spun the bank card in my hand. $1 million. Compensation for all these years, and repayment for what I'd given. $1 million handed over just like that. TSK. It must be nice to be rich. As I walked, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. No more sleepless nights worrying about a $500,000 debt. No more going from person to person, begging for loans, bowing my head and swallowing my pride. No more sleeping under bridges to save money, where rats would scurry past in hordes. If you slept too soundly, they might chew off your ear. All those years of my life had been converted into cold, hard cash, right when I no longer needed it. As I laughed, I felt a sharp pain in my chest, and my eyes began to burn. I pounded on my chest, trying to mask the piercing, unbearable ache with a different kind of pain. Why did it hurt so much? Was it the illness? Alex, I heard a familiar voice. In the distance, I saw a figure running toward me. It was Flynn, and behind him, Leo, his face etched with worry. Flynn wrapped me in a hug, one hand patting my back. Let it out. Cry. It'll be okay. I can't cry. I rested my chin on his shoulder and looked at the bright moon in the distance. I shook my head slowly and said softly, my tears ran dry a long time ago. Leo pursed his lips, pinched my cheek, and forced a bright smile. Come on, let's go home. It was a long way, but we didn't take a cab. We just ambled along slowly. The whole way, Leo and I shot the breeze while Flynn walked on my other side, carrying my things, just smiling silently. When you think about it, we've known each other for so long. 3 years of high school, 4 years of college, 3 years since graduation. Leo walked with his hands behind his head, swaying a little. Man, time really flies. Sometimes I wish it wouldn't go by so fast. I smiled. Yeah. Actually, I've known Alex for a long time too, Flynn said softly. Leo raised an eyebrow. Oh yeah? For real? How come your big bro here doesn't remember? Flynn said sheepishly, it was back in middle school when I came to visit you, Leo. Leo looked completely lost. I stroked my chin, and then it hit me. It was my sophomore year of college. Leo and I were roommates. I was half asleep when I heard a knock on the door. Thinking it was a delivery, I went to open it. It was a middle schooler in a school uniform with delicate features. His eyes, under a fringe of black hair, were startlingly clear. I saw his pupils dilate in shock. He froze for a second, then quickly covered his face, the tips of his ears turning red. He stammered, Sorry, is this Leo's place? I'm here to see him. The shock of it woke me right up. I quickly pulled on the t-shirt I'd left on the sofa. Yeah, we're roommates. I'm his roommate. I'll go get him. After waking Leo up, I went back to my room to sleep. Leo remembered it, too. He grinned and clapped Flynn on the shoulder. Man, kids have good memories. We both thought this was the first time we'd met. I'm not a kid anymore. Flynn mumbled in protest. I just smiled and said nothing. A few days passed like that. It wasn't until I was washing my face and saw my hands covered in blood that I truly felt it. Death was really closing in, scythe in hand. I looked at my reflection in the mirror. My lips were pale. After stopping the bleeding, I washed my face again before leaving the bathroom. Back in my room, I took out the only photo from my bag. A picture of me as a child with my mom and dad. What was life trying to shape me into, to make me suffer so much along the way? What kind of person did I need to become to justify everything I had been through? I thought about this question in college, but I never found an answer. Now, I didn't need to think about it. My life was almost over, but there was still one more thing I had to do. Late that night, I knocked on Leo's door. So late. What's wrong? Something I need to do. He stepped aside to let me in. I pushed the bank card across the table to him. There's $1 million in here. It's compensation from the Sheng family. I signed a contract so you don't have to worry about them trying to take it back. I won't be able to use it. It's for you to get married or buy a house, have a place of your own so you don't have to rent anymore. Alex, don't talk like that. I don't want your money. I shook my head. I know my condition. I won't be able to use this money. And you know my family situation. If you don't take it, my parents will. The young man was silent for a moment. Then he took the card. When are you leaving for your trip? After I get things in order. I'm going home for a bit and then I'll go. Dude, when you say home, where my mom and dad are, you just escaped from there. What can I say? They're my parents. At the end of the day, they gave me life, I said. I'll only be a few days. Leo looked at me deeply, his smile gone. It's late. It's very late. We can talk about this tomorrow. I'm leaving now, I said. My bag is outside. You know how stubborn I am. Once I make a decision, I don't change it. What are you guys talking about? A quiet voice interrupted our conversation. I turned my head and saw Flynn rubbing his eyes, holding a glass of water. I said, it's nothing. I'm just planning to go home for a bit, to see my parents. Flynn just stared at me with those clear, dark eyes, as if he could see right through me. Alex, are you coming back? He asked. In the time he'd been living with us, he seemed to have pieced together what was happening to me. Even though Leo and I tried to hide it from him, he was too smart. I couldn't lie to those eyes. I looked down, avoiding his gaze. Maybe. Alex, let me walk you to the station, Flynn said. I smiled. Okay. He carried my bag, his head down, following silently behind me. The atmosphere grew heavy and oppressive. I couldn't stand the silence any longer and spoke first. I can't believe we met so long ago. It's a shame we didn't see each other much after that. My high school was a closed campus for all 3 years. I didn't have time to come visit Leo, Flynn said, his voice so soft the wind could have carried it away. But by then, you weren't living with him anymore. Oh yeah, I picked up a few part-time jobs back then, and my schedule was a mess. One of them provided housing, so I moved out, I said. I even went to your university to look for you. You did? In the second semester of my junior year, my school took us to visit famous universities to motivate us. I asked my mom for some money and got Leo's help and came to Northwood. But the campus was so big, I never ran into you. That time, I thought about it. That was around the time I met Cameron. Sometimes fate is like that. One tiny misstep and you just drift past each other. Why didn't you ask your brother for my number? I could have shown you around Northwood, I said with a smile. Flynn looked down. I didn't have a phone in high school. I heard my brother mention your number, so I memorized it, but I never called. In college, I wanted to add you, but then I heard you had a boyfriend, so I didn't. I felt a twitch at the corner of my mouth and rubbed my temples awkwardly. It's not that I think being gay is shameful, but we're a minority, and it's not always something you broadcast. The last thing I wanted to do was be a bad influence on a kid. I'm an adult.
I'm 20.
He seemed to read my mind again. I'm capable of making my own judgments and thinking for myself. I changed the subject, fumbling for words. Ha ha ha, so that's how it is. We really do have some kind of fate, huh? Renting in the same neighborhood and everything. It was on purpose. Flynn gripped the straps of his backpack so tightly the blue veins on his hands stood out. I like you, Alex. Take me with you. A bolt from the blue. All my words got stuck in my throat. I stared at him wide-eyed. The kid just drops bombshells like it's nothing. That one nearly scared the soul out of my body and sent me straight to the Grim Reaper. What have I done to deserve this? I'm about to die. Stop messing with me. I stood outside the train station, my heart a pile of dead ashes. No, wait. I was calmly trying to reason with him. Look, we've only met a few times. How can you be in love with me? You must be confusing admiration or something else for love. Leo was like a real brother to me. Alex, do you think my feelings are that cheap and easy? He asked. I said, that's not what I mean. I'm just wondering if there's a possibility. He looked down and pulled something black from his coat. He shook it out. It unfolded into a poster-sized collage. It was covered in pictures of me. I knew it. I knew you had some slut on the side, you bastard. And a pervert, too. You've been after my man for a long time, haven't you? Trying to steal him while I was gone. An angry roar snapped me out of my shock. I saw someone dart out from a corner and punch Flynn. I looked closer. It was Cameron. Alex, come home with me. I'm not marrying that woman. Let's go home. He then tried to grab my hand, his voice thick with grievance. My dad locked me up at home all this time. I've been thinking about you constantly. I can't eat, I can't sleep. I was wrong, Alex. You can hit me, you can yell at me, I'll take it. But please just come home with me. Okay? I'll explain everything properly. I had no time for him. I rushed to help Flynn up. I'm fine, Alex, the young man said, wiping a trickle of blood from his lip. Who gave you permission to call him Alex? Who the hell do you think you are? Cameron charged over again, reaching out to grab Flynn by the collar. I blocked his arm. Have you caused enough trouble? Cameron blinked slowly, watching me shield Flynn behind me. His lips trembled, and his voice was dry. Alex, why are you treating me like this? You were never like this before. Look at my clothes. Look at the bruises on my face. Took so much for me to escape. My dad wouldn't let me call you. I just wanted to talk to you. Seeing my still cold expression, his voice grew smaller and smaller, and his eyes reddened. He blinked, and a tear rolled down his cheek. He reached out and tugged on the hem of my shirt. Alex, I missed you. I've changed. I've changed everything. I'll never lie again. Please don't leave me. We were so good together. I let out a short, sharp laugh and brushed his hand away. Stop the fake act. If you'd really changed, you wouldn't have hit my friend. Cameron's eyes grew even redder. shimmering with tears that threatened to spill over. I'll let him hit me back. Okay? I'll apologize to him. Alex, I was just so scared. I was afraid someone would really take you away from me. I said, the moment you decided to lie to me, I stopped belonging to you. Cameron's face turned ghostly white as tears streamed down his cheeks. Alex, don't do this to me. My heart hurts so much. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you, Alex. Please believe me. The rest of his life. I answered with pure malice. There is no rest of your life. It's all your fault, Cameron. I worked day and night to earn money for you, and what did it get me? Terminal cancer. I don't have many years left. It was actually genetic, though I couldn't rule out that the recent stress had been a trigger. If it weren't for you, I would have lived a long, happy life. I hate you so much. Why would I ever get back together with you? What do I owe you? And let me tell you, if it weren't for this money, I would have dragged you down to hell with me. The news hit Cameron so hard he started babbling. No, that's not right. You're lying to me. Aren't you, Alex? Please. Your family is so powerful. They can track my every move. Why don't you have them check my medical records at the hospital? I smiled, my voice seductive. If you die with me, maybe I'll even find it in me to forgive you. I'll call my dad right now. There has to be a way. There has to be a way. The young man frantically patted his pockets. I glanced at my phone. You go ahead and look. My train is about to leave. I'm going to miss it. I'm leaving now. And if you still want to fight, the police station is right next door. Go fight there. Save the officers some gas money. Alex, where are you going? Home for a bit. What, am I not even allowed to go home? That's not what I meant. Go. I'll call you as soon as I find a solution. You just wait for my good news, Cameron said, numbly retracting his hand. Flynn said nothing. He just silently folded up the poster and stuffed it back in his pocket. He watched me with those dark, inscrutable eyes, and I couldn't guess what he was thinking. I arrived home at dawn. Our house was in the mountains, a solitary building. The house in the city had been sold off. Those two gambling addicts had bet everything away. If it weren't for the fact that the old family home couldn't be sold, they probably would have sold this place too. They had driven my grandparents to their graves and gambled away their coffin money. Leaving them in this world was just a menace to society. I slipped over the wall and crept into the dark house. This place held all the pain of my childhood. When my dad lost at gambling, he'd get drunk and chase me around the house with an axe, laughing maniacally. There's still a deep gash in one of the pillars from that. That time, I almost had my head split open. My mother liked to dig her nails into me and slap me. She'd ask a question, and if she wasn't satisfied with my answer, she'd hit me. There's still a scar by my ear where her sharp nail scratched me. When it scabbed over, she would tear it open again. She'd watch me cry and just laugh. I once had a happy childhood. My parents had stable jobs. But then they got addicted to gambling and everything changed. They became volatile, hysterical. All I ever wanted was to escape them, to find a happy life of my own. But fate had other plans. Since you brought me into this world, it only seems fair that I take you out of it, right? I moved slowly deeper into the house and heard heavy snoring. Looks like they were both home. My lucky day. Time to get to work. When the two of them woke up, they found themselves tied to pillars. My head, ow, it hurts like hell. Is that Alex? My mother's slightly puffy face showed a look of surprise. I sat in a chair, my chin resting on my hand, and smiled at them. Long time no see, Mom and Dad. You ungrateful brat. Why didn't you just die out there? You little bastard. Let me go. I'm gonna split your head open. Wait, what's that smell? It's gasoline. I'm going to die anyway. Taking two disasters like you with me seems like a good deed. I stuck a cigarette in my mouth and lit it, looking down. The taste of nicotine spread through my throat. I rarely smoked. It burned my nose. But right now, it seemed to bring me a profound sense of peace. My father seemed to realize I was serious, and panic set in. Son, my good son, I'll stop gambling. I'll never gamble again, I promise. Please spare my life, good son. If you want to kill someone to let off steam, kill your mother. Don't kill me, my good son. You fucking animal. I'm your mother. My mother shrieked, cursing him. I watched their pathetic drama with indifference. Scream all you want. This mountain is barren. Not even grass or trees grow here. No one ever comes this way. I took the cigarette from my lips and flicked it away. The flames began to rise. Listening to their screams, I tossed the photo from my pocket into the fire. I started laughing without realizing it. Mom, Dad, give me a smile. Just like in the picture. They say in a fire you can see the world change. This time I was walking into the fire myself. Alex! I thought I heard someone calling my name. I gently closed my eyes. But I was so tired. I didn't want to open them again. Epilogue, Flynn. Flynn felt like every step he and Alex took was misaligned in time, separated by the smallest of chances. After that first time, he was never able to see him again at Leo's apartment. When Flynn was on break, Alex was busy. In his junior year of high school, Flynn accidentally got Alex's phone number. At his strict boarding school, he would always be the first to rush to the payphone, carefully dialing Alex's number. But when he got to the last digit, he would hesitate, delete the number, and walk away dejected. Alex didn't even know who he was. What would he even say if he called? I really like you. I want to be your friend. It just sounded so strange. Near the end of his junior year, his school organized a trip to top universities to motivate the students. Flynn didn't go. Instead, he asked his mom for money, took a high-speed train, and went to Northwood University by himself. His mom had bought him a cheap smartphone. Couldn't play games, but it could make calls. He stood blankly in front of the university gate, hesitated for a moment, then dialed the number he knew by heart. Beep, beep. On the third ring, someone picked up. Hello? It was the voice that had appeared in his dreams so many times. For some reason, the boy felt tears welling up, a strange sense of grievance washing over him. He wanted to ask where Alex was. I'm so sorry. My bad. I'm so clumsy. It's fine, don't worry about it. If it's dirty, it's dirty. I'm so sorry, man. My name is Cameron. I'll pay you back. The call was disconnected, leaving the boy standing there, holding his phone, dazed amidst the flowing crowd. This phone's battery life is terrible. It's dead again after just a few hours. Alex frowned, stuffed the phone back in his pocket, and looked at the young man who was still apologizing profusely. He found it a little funny. It's really fine. If you feel that bad about it, you can just buy me a meal. Flynn did well on his college entrance exams. He got into Northwood University. Leo laughed and said, Hey, so me and a buddy of mine are both your upperclassmen now. Your buddy?
Yeah, man.
Super nice guy and he's handsome, too. Really? Can you tell me stories about you two? Leo, mistakenly thinking the boy wanted to hear his own glorious tales, told him everything he could think of. And Flynn, through Leo's fragmented stories, pieced together Alex's past. The thin shadow began to gain flesh and blood, and his own feelings, suppressed for so long, began to warp and grow into something monstrous. By the time Flynn realized it, his obsession was big enough to block out the sun. Stalking, spying, cursing, resenting. The young man would smile, but his eyes were a bottomless abyss. If he couldn't hold his hand, he would never be able to rest in peace. The moment he truly held Alex's hand was in the middle of that raging inferno. Are you insane? Alex's pupils constricted. His voice filled with disbelief. What are you doing in here? Let's go on that trip, Flynn said. He gripped the other's hand tightly, repeating over and over, I spent the last few days planning everything. There are so many fun places in the world. I'll take you to all of them, okay? I'll take you to get treatment. Technology is advancing every day. Maybe tomorrow there'll be a cure. Alex, I'll take you. Alex looked at him with a complex expression, and after a moment, he smiled. Okay. In the roaring flames, he pressed a kiss to Flynn's forehead. It was warm and gentle. It made his heart race. With just one kiss, he wasn't even afraid of death. But a sharp pain at the back of his neck made him dizzy. As he lost consciousness, Flynn tried desperately to hold onto the hand that was pulling away. Tomorrow will be a new day. He heard Alex's farewell. In the roaring flames, They were separated by life and death. It was the last time they would miss each other.